And now, Deborah Kobylt live.
Thank you so much, Kurt. And thank you, everybody, for being here for Deborah Kobylt Live. We have a lovely guest on the phone with us today. She's a friend of the show, Florence Ann Romano. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me back. I just adore you.
Yeah, no, same with me. Please, I get questions and saying, when are you going to have her back? Look, you're a child care expert. Last time we had you on talking about your book, which is wonderful, Nanny and Me. You've got so much experience working with kids, working with young adult kids. And we thought we'd have you on to talk a little bit about what's going on out there with kids being sort of locked up at home, if you will, quarantine. It's got to be very, very stressful. Are you doing a lot of consulting with families and kids right now? Or tell me what you're hearing.
The most popular thing I'm hearing, phone calls or emails or DMs, is, how do I get through this? And I always say to them, it's survival right now, and you're not supposed to know how to do this, and it is temporary, even though I know people feel like it's not, and they keep seeing all these things on the news about how slow it's going to be before we actually get back to any sort of normalcy. Well, you know what? Every single day, you're one day closer to something being different. But I understand the struggle parents are having right now, especially the working parents, because the stay-at-home moms and dads, this is their life. They understand this on a day-to-day basis. But the stay-at-home moms and dads, they're expected to be doing e-learning with their children and also working at the same time, keeping their job going. And that's very difficult when you don't in the house to help you take care of your children and do all the other things that the children are expected to do regarding kind of their school curriculum. So it is an overload for families right now.
What do you advise? Like, do you say, especially, let's say you're in tight quarters, right? And mom and dad are working from home, which would be a blessing because so many people are losing their jobs or they're on furlough. Right. That's really a struggle. Right. But assuming that one or both parents are working from home and the kids are doing their schoolwork, what do? I'm thinking, I don't know, you said a section over here for them and a section over here for you. Like, what would you advise people?
Yeah, if you have the room in your house, of course, sectioning it off is fine. I think that's great. Kind of that spatial arrangement can be good for sanity. But I think even more important than kind of where you are located in the house, it's more important the structure that you have in place at home. So, for example, if you've got both parents there, maybe one parent is able to structure their day where they're working certain hours, so the other one is with the children, and then they can switch off. I know a lot of families have to be flexible right now. A lot of companies have to be flexible with their employees. And so if they're able to do that, then it makes the day a little bit easier. But if you're not able to do that, you have to think of ways to entertain your child while you're also trying to get work done. And if they have to be doing their schoolwork at the same time you're working, but they need your guidance, oh my gosh, how are you supposed to do both those things at the same time? Well, people are doing it. They're certainly making it work. But I would like to suggest that I'm seeing a lot of people utilize technology in really great ways that are helping them make the most of their days and giving those parents some hours back.
Yeah. What do you think? What age category do you think is feeling it more? Because kid wise, right? I mean, little kids, because I just had on the folks from Your Mom Cares, and they do tremendous work for the mental wellness of young people ages like, I don't know, 5 to 25. It's really amazing. And that's quite a spread, right?
Right.
But who do you think is really feeling it with kids? Because like as they were saying, it's almost like an earthquake has happened. Everything shook up.
Right.
And you're right. It's good to be, as best you can, positive.
Right. You do the best.
Yeah.
Pardon? Yeah. So yeah, you do the best you can, Deb. I mean, that's life though, right? I mean, you do the best you can in life during these really tough moments. But who's feeling it the worst? I don't even know if it's that a certain age group is feeling it the worst as much as how are they feeling it and what is the lens that they're looking through. So the example I want to give is I always say that parents need a village. We always talk about parents needing a village. You build your village, you let love in, all the things that I talk about all the time. But right now we're experiencing what it's like for parents to lose their village, you lose their childcare or lose their, school, the teachers, all of that. But children also lost their village in this. And the village to the children is very important. All their buddies at school, all this routine that they were used to, things that they could count on. Children don't realize how important that stability is until it's gone. So I think all age groups are suffering. It just is the comprehension level and emotional comprehension level of those age groups. I think that that you have to kind of ask yourself that question about who's being affected more.
You were talking about how to keep kids entertained, and you mentioned to me technology, FaceTime, Google, Zoom. I mean, you mean for kids to doing with one another, or for you to set up with family, or what do you suggest?
All of it, as much as you can get of it. I mean, truthfully. So right now, there's this great thing. Sitter City is promoting this virtual sitting where you can hire a babysitter for maybe 30 minutes or an hour at a time to FaceTime or Zoom with your child. So you could get some work done or do whatever it is that you need to do.
Wait, what's that called? That's fantastic. What's it called?
Sitter City. So Sitter City is an online nanny service, care service, and it's great. They're promoting it all over the place, and I think it's a fantastic idea. But if you don't want to pay someone to do it, there certainly are people in your village, I'm sure, that will do it for free, like grandparents who want to see their grandchildren. You can FaceTime with them. They can read stories. They can color together. They can put on a puppet show. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, like getting an hour back of your time if someone is entertaining your child. But in this world right now, an hour is a lot. And if you can find people that are going to help you do that, help you entertain your child, or help do homework with your child via FaceTime or Google Hangout or Zoom or whatever it is, using technology in that way is really, really helpful.
I have to tell you, I think the way we've been communicating is going to stick with a lot of people. I've so enjoyed Zooming with friends and having, a dinner party or whatever, just to connect with them when sometimes I'm just trying to get together with them and I can't see them for 4 months because everybody's busy. And I'm thinking, what a great idea. And I really feel like I'm connecting. And from what I understand, it's the same with kids. When you're occupying them and communicating with them, we may not be able to feel each other, but you can feel the honesty coming through. I really feel that,
Yeah, and I wonder what's going to stick on the other side of this. I wonder how much of this virtual stuff we're still going to be doing. But for right now, kids who did lose their village, who did lose, their friends, don't get to see them all the time. Technology has allowed us this opportunity to make sure that they can still be connecting with their friends and still playing with them, even if in a virtual way. And that connection is important for lots of reasons, but it also is a reassurance that they're okay, that their friends are still there, that there is still some version of normalcy in their life.
Mm-hmm. And we were talking earlier about what about teacher expectations on Zoom? That's been really hard because
I know my friend teachers, I talk to them all the time, and they are up till the early hours in the morning putting together their curriculum. They work so hard for these kids and these families. And the truth is, you got to look at both sides. The teachers are doing the best they can. The families are doing the best they can. There is going to be fallout on both sides. But the good news is that everybody in this country is on the same page about that. Everyone's behind. Everyone's just trying to get through it. So when the kids finally do go back to school, the teachers are going to get them back on track. So be kind to yourself. Parents, that's my advice to you. Be kind to yourself. Do what you can. But whatever is not going to get done is not going to get done. I am more concerned about the health of the child mentally.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that about the teachers, because a friend of mine and her child goes to private school. They said, gosh, why do we still have to pay the same money? I said, do you know how hard those teachers are working? I said, they may even be working a little harder because they really have to think of creative ways to keep those kids. So my hat's off to the teachers out there working so hard. So thank you for keeping our kids educated and occupied, as you said, the best that they can, and we all can, you know.
Those are still moms and dads too. You got to remember, those teachers have personal lives of their own. So
absolutely, it's like a nurse. It's like a nurse. They have personal lives too. Sometimes we forget. It's like they're not just there all day for you, but they're working it, man. They're working late at night. And, yeah, you were talking about the mental wellness of the kid. Talk to me about that.
I think emotionally speaking, we talked a little bit about before about the toll this is taking on children and on families. Well, I look at the news cycle, right? We have a news cycle that is 24/7. That TV is on all the time because everyone wants to hear every press conference and know the latest information. And there's a very, very big common denominator of fear that is an undercurrent right now in our country. Everyone is afraid of something in some way, shape, or form with COVID-19. And so when you start thinking about how this affects children, what I want to caution parents about is your energy is very contagious. So if you've got that TV on all the time, they're picking up on words. They may not know everything that's going on, but they're picking up on the word death. They're picking up on the word sick. They're picking up
true.
on it, right?
So true. Is mom going to get sick? What about grandma? What about my
Right.
teacher?
Right.
Right. Or my friends? Because, then all of a sudden the news story will say young people can get it too. And then they're thinking, oh no, I'm next.
Right.
Oh, I agree. My advice, being in the news business, please turn it off. Because also there's different information out there depending upon who you read, who you watch. And it's confusing to somebody like me. And I even had to just turn it off because it's too much. So,
it is too much. And you have to remember also that your energy, however you're digesting this information, is going to permeate them. So if you're crying or you're screaming at the TV or you look nervous or anxious, your children pick up on that. Children, have this empathy about them where they can really feel more than you think they do. They're picking up on more than you think they do. So be very cautious about how you're responding. I don't want parents, though, however, the caveat to this is to feel like they cannot talk to their children about what's going on. I believe in transparency, but I believe you have to censor what you're saying based on the age of the child. So you don't have to give them all the information, and you also don't have to have all the answers. If you as a parent don't know the answer to something, you can say to them, you know what, I don't know. It scares me too, but we are okay. You are here. You are safe. It's okay to be transparent with your children about that. It's okay for them to see that in you because it will validate their feelings then. They will think it's okay if I feel X, Y, or Z because mom and dad feel that way too. So it's important to show that it's okay to feel. And right now everyone's feeling a lot, but if you can still put the emphasis on the fact that you're counting your blessings, that things are okay, that they are safe, that they are taken care of, that's important. I think always ending it on a positive note is important, even if you're having a very honest conversation about things that are scary.
If you can, modeling, right? If you can. I mean, I know that I went through a really hard time in my life some years ago when they were a certain age, and it was when my parents, I had to be their caretaker for both of them. And I remember I just felt like I was torn at every end. And if I were to look back, I wish that I had just kept it in more or handled it better or maybe got more help for myself. Because if you're a stressed parent, and they had nothing to do with me caring for my parents, right? But I was absorbing that. And then I was stressed out when I came home. So, if parents are feeling stressed, get help. Because you're not going to help your kids however you can, or talk to a friend or a spouse or just somebody who might be able to listen right at this time, because you don't want to stress them out because you're.
It's all about your village. Again, I always go back to who's in your village. I mean, how do you lean on them in a time like this? Yes, you can't physically be together, but you can lean on them in other ways for emotional support. And I don't think there's any greater time to actually be relating to a friend or family member, because we literally all are going through the same thing at the same moment right now in time. So yes, not using your children, I guess, as an outlet for that venting, that's not always appropriate. I think there's a big difference between you having a friendship with someone where you could be transparent and honest and vulnerable and authentic, and also using this as a teachable moment with your children that's emotionally healthy for you both. I think you have to find the balance there.
Yeah, I actually see a lot of my friends and parents, and I'd be going out in the community a little bit to help. And I think kids appear to be trying to do their best because I think they realize that this is out of everybody's control,
Right.
And in a way, they're helping the parents, and the parents are helping to guide the kids. So, and as you said earlier, what happens when you get to the other side? We don't know, right?
We don't know what the other side looks like yet. We all know it's got to be better than this.
Yeah. What's your background? How did you get into this as a mom helper? And then you ended up writing a very successful book. You had really some pretty terrific experiences as a nanny, didn't
I
you?
did. I was a nanny for over 15 years. It was the time of my life. I started as a mother's helper, as you mentioned, at the age of 11, and that just really just became the catalyst for a journey for me as a nanny. And I have to say, having gone through all of that with children and with families, I'm seeing today more than I ever have, even though I've been aware of it for a long time, but more than I ever have, the childcare crisis that we're living through right now. And we're seeing what happens when you don't have affordable or accessible childcare. And this is a conversation that is not going to end when COVID starts to kind of wash through and we start to go back to some sort of normal. We saw it even just with the CARES Act that was passed. It was part of the CARES Act. So I was really happy to see that because it made me happy to know that it was being acknowledged that this childcare crisis is worse than ever. And now people that never really thought about it or paid mind to it now see it constantly in the news. When you're seeing all the schools shut down and you're seeing these children that are homeless and we're depending on school for meals, all of that, now these parents who have no more daycare and they have to work. I mean, you're seeing it in so many different idioms. And so I'm very anxious to see what happens on the other side of this regarding childcare.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Childcare, mental wellness programs,
Yeah.
social workers. I mean, these are the big ticket items that we need. But then the question is, how do you fund it?
You fund it. I don't have an answer to that.
I know, but we need it more than anything, more than ever. Childcare, absolutely. Wellness programs for kids, absolutely. I don't know, maybe it has to be part of the school curriculum. I don't have an answer. But you're right. You're seeing the big hole there. It's right in our faces. It's right there. Interesting how things happen. And then all of a sudden it just redirects you and you look over in a different direction and say, wow, I think we need this, right?
Well, sometimes, crisis does this. Sometimes crisis brings about change. So I would really like to say right now on record that maybe on the other side of this, we're going to see that change because it can't be ignored anymore. So maybe that's the bright side of a pandemic, if there can be one, but sometimes it takes something like this in order to make people pay attention.
Mm-hmm. So are you doing consulting to parents? Are you helping them? What are you doing at this time as a child?
Right now more than anything, it's probably Instagram. I hear from so many parents on Instagram because I put up a lot of tips and tricks about what to be doing during this time, but also on the other side of this too, not just COVID related. But I get a lot of DMs from mommies and daddies saying like, okay, real quick, I just want to talk to you about this. And sometimes I'll jump on the phone with them. We'll jump on a FaceTime. I'll get to meet their kids sometimes like that. And, even just like a 15-minute quick phone call just to talk about how to get them through a specifically hard day. So I don't even think of myself as a consultant as much as I think of myself as part of their village and their friend, their virtual friend at this point.
Well, your advice is very common sense. It's easy to follow, actually. What you say is, a lot of times you'll say something, I'll go, oh, yeah. And I'm thinking, I'm right. You're spot on. You're very unique in that way. You're spot on, but you're very caring in your delivery. And I just think you've always given that's why your book is so terrific to read. It's an easy read, and you learn so much from reading Nanny and Me. How did you get inspired to write that, by the way?
I think I always knew that the book was inside of me and I was going to write it one day. But a few years ago, I started looking at the children's book market and I was like, gosh, there's nothing out there that teaches children about why they have a nanny or the transition of being cared for your parents to having a nanny. And the truth is, even before before COVID came, the statistic is over 64% of families in America have childcare, over 64%. So when you think about the amount of children that is and how traumatizing that situation can be for them when they don't understand why their parents are not going to take care of them anymore, that someone else, maybe a stranger, is coming in, I wanted to rectify that. So I wrote the book from the child's perspective and all about real experiences that I had as a nanny, very easy to read, very child friendly. And I have to say the best part about having written that book is it has become a very popular baby shower gift for
Oh, I love that. You're right. Why not?
Yes. So because now they have you write a card inside a children's book for them instead of like having an actual card. So it's so fun. I get messages all the time saying, I'm sending you a bunch of books. Can you sign them and personalize them for these like 10 showers I have coming up? So it's fun. But, going back to the simplicity of it all, that's the truth, Deb. It is simple. It should be simple. The advice shouldn't be complicated. No one has time for complicated. I don't want complicated. Parents
No.
certainly don't want complicated. So let's make it simple. Let's make it accessible. Let's make it real. And it's really based in just truth and heart.
Now, when you're not advising people about kids, you've got a production company, right?
Yes.
Kindred Content. What do you do with that?
So we do digital content for brands. We work directly with brands. And right now, what I think more important than ever is the idea of corporate social responsibility. And we want to see how companies are giving back and that it's important to them to give back to their community. So we're focusing on that type of digital content for businesses to help tell their story about where their hearts lie and show their consumers, show their clients that they're more than just a product, that they actually are doing something to benefit the greater good.
A big takeaway that you'd like to leave our viewers and listeners for kids and for parents on getting through this and once we're on the other side in terms of perspective. You want to, any parting words you want to say for someone?
My parting words, my favorite quote is by Maya Angelou. People will forget what you did, they'll forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And so I think right now for parents, it's how you're making your children feel. It's how secure you're making them feel, how loved and happy as they can be in these trying moments. And I think for the outside world, what you as a family is doing, what you as parents are doing, it's about how you're turning it forward for the greater good too. And it doesn't have to be donating tons of money somewhere or going out and putting yourself at risk. Sometimes it's just checking up on that friend that maybe is struggling silently. You shoot them a text message, just knowing that you're thinking about them. So that's my message out there to parents and families is, just try to be that change you want to see in the world right now. And that's really what it is. So focus on making people feel good, focus on lifting people up right now. And for kids, I just want them to lean into the light, just to know that it's going to be okay and that they're protected.
Beautiful. Going to end right on that. It was perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today. And people can find you, right, at windycitynanny.com.
Yes. And
all your social handles.
All my socials, I'll make it easy for you. It's all Windy City Nanny all over social. And please, very active on all of it. And I'd love to hear from you. Love to make a new friend. So reach out to me.
Beautiful. Okay. Thank you so much, Florence Ann Romano. I appreciate you coming on our show. And everybody, you can see and hear Florence Ann Romano on our show, Deborah Kobylt Live, on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and on all other platforms, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Honestly, wherever you just type in our name, you're going to find us. So please look us up and reach out to Florence. I mean, she's great. She answers everybody. So thanks again for being with us. And thank you for listening. And we'll see you next time on Deborah Kobylt Live. Bye.